Picture this. It's 7:30 in the morning at a Louisville postal facility. Fluorescent lights flicker overhead and the air smells like that particular blend of paper, ink, and industrial coffee that marks government buildings everywhere. Rows of sorting machines clatter and hum, processing thousands of pieces of mail that need to get where they're going. And there's a man at one of those machines. Button-down shirt, steady hands, feeding envelopes through with a kind of rhythm that comes from decades of practice. He has the quiet kind of presence you don't notice at first, until one day you realize you've always felt a little better when he's around. Just another postal worker, right? That's someone you'd walk past in the break room and never think twice about. But what if I told you that same quiet man carried music inside of him that no one else would ever hear? That he held mysteries and passions that would completely surprise you? That there was something about the way he moved through the world that made everyone around him feel different? You probably walk past someone exactly like this today. Someone whose day job was just the surface of an extraordinary, rich life. Hi, I'm Steve Rode, and this is True Stories from the Obit Files. A few times every week, I share one real story from a real obituary about someone whose life you never knew about. These aren't celebrities or headlines. They're just regular people who live extraordinary lives right under our noses. If stories like this matter to you, make sure you're subscribed. I share a new one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Arthur Dale Hopkins, Art to his coworkers, Dale to his family, was 76 when he passed away June 2025 in Woburn, Massachusetts. Born in Louisville, Kentucky in 1949, he spent most of his working life as a machine clerk for the U.S. Postal Service. But here's what I learned about someone who moved through the world a little differently and changed it more than you can guess. Art graduated from Western Kentucky University in 1971 with a history degree. He started as a high school teacher, and then he worked as a bank clerk before finding his way to the Postal Service, where he'd spend most of his career. But that career progression tells you something important. This was someone who was always learning, always curious about where life might take him next. Because as a young man, Art played guitar and wrote his own songs. I like to picture him with the guitar resting across his knees, not playing for a crowd, but just for the joy of making something no one else could hear. He'd reminisce about those songs years later, the kind of person who carried music inside of him, even when life took him in different directions. Art was an avid reader who loved movies, both old and new. And this lifelong passion for learning never quit. History, genealogy, science. He approached everything with the same genuine curiosity. You can picture him settling in with a book after dinner or getting excited about some new documentary he'd discovered. The kind of person who found joy in simple things and somehow made sure everyone around him did too. His family remembered his sharp wit and his gentle heart. Someone who could make you laugh while making you feel completely at ease. But here's what you really couldn't see from that postal facility floor. And this is what changes everything about who Art really was. He had this remarkable memory, and he made an intentional choice about how to use it. Art took the time to learn everyone's name, and he was always careful to use it. Not just coworkers or friends, but everyone. His caregivers, acquaintances, and people he'd just met. In a world where most of us can't even recall what we had for lunch, Art remembered your name and made sure you heard it, gently and on purpose. And that doesn't happen by accident. That's someone who decided that every person he met was worth the mental energy it takes to truly see them. I mean, how rare is that? How often do you meet someone who actually makes you feel seen, Not just noticed, but truly seen and remembered. Picture this quiet postal worker making everyone around him feel like they mattered, just by saying their name correctly. One conversation at a time, one person at a time, making the world feel a little less anonymous. And once you understand that about Art, everything else makes perfect sense. He was deeply proud of his Scottish heritage and became an active, dedicated member of Clan Carmichael in the United States. Not just a member, but serving multiple terms as a director and attending more than 20 Highland Games in Glasgow, Kentucky. Picture this quiet postal worker showing up in full Scottish regalia, completely in his element, among the kilts and the bagpipes. He had a long-held dream to join the Sons of the American Revolution, and after moving to Massachusetts later in life, he finally fulfilled it, proudly noting that he had multiple ancestors who fought in the Revolutionary War. He was a Kentucky colonel, a member of the Filson Historical Society, and an elder in his Presbyterian church. You get that sense that remembering where he came from helped him to know how to love the people around him even more. Art married Mary. Everyone called her Janice. In November 1975, and they shared 44 wonderful years together until her passing in 2019. After losing her, he moved to Massachusetts to be closer to his daughter, Brenna, and his son-in-law, David, and his grandsons, Derek and Daniel. And he became an active presence in their lives, discussing football players with his grandsons and sharing what the family lovingly called his dad jokes. I can imagine that he probably told maybe something like, "Hey, why don't scientists trust atoms?" "Yeah, because they make up everything." Followed by that satisfied dad look when the boys would groan and laugh despite themselves. Here's what I love about Art's story. He understood something most of us miss. He spent his life studying history, tracing his family back to the Revolutionary War and beyond, serving in historical societies. He understood that remembering the past matters, and that every person carries stories worth preserving. Art believed that no one should be forgotten, and now by telling his story, we're making sure he isn't either. The postal worker who wrote songs, the genealogy enthusiast who saw everyone as worth remembering, someone who understood that the simple act of using someone's name isn't small, it's everything. Every person has a story like this. Layers of passion and curiosity, and quiet kindness that you'd never guess from the outside. You never know what music someone carries, what dreams they've fulfilled, what care they've taken to truly see the people around them. Not everyone makes the front page, but everyone, and I mean everyone, has a story worth telling. People like you, extraordinary lives, stories worth hearing. And thanks for letting me tell this one.